TRiP was born out of a desire for us to push ourselves creatively. We wanted a clean slate in which we could basically do anything we dreamt up.
We wanted to push ourselves farther than we had ever gone. With acting, with cinematography, with story, with visual effects, every facet we wanted to go where we had never gone before.
We scouted the first day about a week before we shot, and that was a hard one.
It is an impossible situation to deal with because we are scouting for something in the snow while it was kind of snowing, so it didn't look like the way we wanted it to look when we actually shot it. But then also we had to find a spot that we hoped would work 6 months down the line when we film it in pure greenery.
Here we are, Fort Collins, Catch the Laputer, scouting our location, and ladies and gentlemen, we just found it. Here we are, right next to the river. We found a spot along this bend, tucked into the trees over here that's going to work perfectly for what we need.
So it is Thursday. We just had a meeting all morning because we had decided basically yesterday that we're gonna film this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, because it is weather permitting basically, and there's a snowstorm coming this weekend. So we've had to do all this prep, wrap everything up, touch up the scripts, get all of our eggs in a basket in basically 4 days before we film on Sunday. So just waiting for the snow now. So we just had a little switch up. We're planning to film on Sunday. It's Friday afternoon. Little switch up is that we probably have to film on Saturday now, meaning tomorrow. So we have to go to Fort Collins, get all of our shit figured out, get all of our shit organized, like physically organized, and then go, I guess, film in the next, 18 hours?
Yeah, we gotta be
As
ready
opposed
by
to
7 in the
36.
morning. Hey Ethan, real quick, how does it feel to be scratching your own face out of a photo?
It's gonna look a whole lot better when it's done, I'll tell you that for free.
The first day of shooting was a tough one. We had to endure the elements as we had to do with many of the other days, but the temperature was the big problem. We shot in a reverse order, which meant all of the stuff at the end of the film we had to shoot at the beginning seasonally, since we started shooting in around February, which meant we had to be outside in the elements, in the snow, in the cold.
Our first day on production, we were outside in the snow filming in this campground. In terms of visuals, great potential. I loved it. From a cinematographer standpoint, I was like, this is it, this is the spot. From a human standpoint, who had to be out there in the elements, I wanted to fall over and die.
Well, doing good. We've lost major function in most of the limbs and extremities. But the cognitive ability is still there.
Stuff is going well. We're getting through Ethan's coverage of Void Andy for this scene. He's getting in character, and I'm going to be reading lines as regular Andy back to him.
Doing the Void, playing two different sides of the same character, two different characters essentially, was challenging. I was incredibly nervous for it. The night before we were shooting, at 3 a.m., I just went manic Heath Ledger mode and locked myself in the room, turned the lights off, and just got down in my underwear and just started acting like an absolute maniac, just trying to see what happened, watching interviews with addicts and schizophrenics and watching all of their tics and just trying to come up with inspiration.
And cut. All right, day one wrapped. How are we feeling?
Pretty good. It was a lot. Had to start pretty early. Started off a little slow, but then we kind of got things into more of a rhythm. Hopefully I turned out well. It's either really good or it was absolute shit. And won't know until the whole thing is cut.
All right, gentlemen, tell me what is going on here right now.
We're trying to pre-light this for tomorrow night so that we don't have to spend an hour tinkering with how we're gonna light everything, such as this jerry rig that we did.
Yeah, explain what we got going on here. What is this monstrosity?
So we have our key light here, our aperture 60, and then we have a black light or black piece of paper with a hole in it so that the light can shine through and create our spotlight. But it was when we were touching it to the light, it was burning, obviously, so we had to bring in another C-stand to hold it up and then tape the bottom of it
What kind of
onto
tape?
the light. Yeah, that is hockey tape right here. Howie's. Shout out Howie's. And I think it works.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Memory Lane is the first sequence that I was in as an actor, and it had snowed the night before, but it was supposed to be sort of a maybe early summer, late spring kind of party atmosphere.
Prepping for Memory Lane was a bit of a hassle. We knew that it was going to snow going into it. I don't think we expected it to snow that much though. A lot of shoveling, a lot of tarping off the grass, trying to dry off the grass.
Memory Lane was the least visually unique out of any of them on paper. And it took me a while to figure out exactly how we wanted to add a surrealist element to it. We accomplished it mainly through lighting.
The creative lighting was meant to be sort of a surrealist aspect to the story, to sort of serve the narrative that we had already dreamt up. So if something was happening psychologically to our main character, our lighting would change to adapt to his mindset.
Good.
Hey, Andy.
My favorite shot during the Memory Lane sequence is when Jeff's character and Emerson's character are dancing inside the house. I remember that being, although it was a really cold night, there's a camaraderie that happens when an excellent shot is pulled off and you guys know you're doing something really fun and really special.
All right, we're ready.
Ready and action. With the La La Land shot, as we called it, we achieved it completely in camera by actually having people manually dim lights on and off when we needed it to be, and I think that it creates this very intimate moment between Ethan, Jeff, and the viewer, which in the story is Ethan's character, Andy. And it puts you in his shoes of feeling this very romantic tone that's being played on screen, but also a bit melancholy because he wishes he was the one that had her, but can't.
Very technically involved and very emotionally involved. I think it's like the crux of the entire movie. I think it kind of hinges on that moment landing. And it was really, really satisfying to see that come together and also see people's reactions to that be what we wanted people to feel.
Just kidding.
It is a little too
Kiss.
bad, I think. Do you guys
Come
want
over
here?
I'm making food for us tomorrow as we take our journey to the dunes.
Originally, it was entitled Candyland, and it was going to be this very colorful, abstract space, and we learned very quickly that just wasn't going to be feasible, but we still wanted to have something that had spectacle and scale and intrigue and was very different from the real world. I wish I could say it was a more complicated process, but it was literally just an idea clicked in my brain of, oh, what about the sand dunes? And I brought it up to Cam and Zach, and they were like, that could actually work. And it became a money thing and ended up being way cheaper, so that was the route that we went down.
All right, what's up, guys? This is day one of the Dunes trip. I hope everybody's excited to follow around, and if you guys like what you've seen so far, hit that like button, maybe a subscribe, and we'll keep you guys updated. Thank
Smash
you.
the bell, notifications online.
The Great Sand Dunes, which are in southern Colorado, which is about a 4-hour drive from us. None of us had ever been, but we thought that it looked great on camera from what we could tell. But when we got there, they were actually more stunning than I had expected.
The dunes was an interesting process. It was the only location that we shot on multiple different days just because of the sheer scale of the dunes themselves, the nature of the different shots that we needed to get, as well as how complicated it is to shoot in the dunes in general.
Other than, avoiding the sand blowing around and the occasional gust of wind, I was in love with almost every shot that we were getting that day. I thought it was a ton of fun.
The first day went really well. It was just windy at times. I remember being very windy, which messed with things.
Can you tell us what's going on?
Oh! Time! Where's
scenes were awesome. I felt like Tom Cruise getting to do all my own stunts.
I knew that more than any other day, the sand dunes days were going to have to be ones that we just did on the fly. And luckily, a lot of it is with Ethan and his character and getting into his character's mindset as he enters this crazy world. So luckily there is some wiggle room there, and we were able to kind of just find cool shots here and there and fit them all into the story.
Applesauce, fruit snacks, granola bars, soon-to-be sandwiches.
I primarily worked as a pack mule, and I also worked as a location scout during the dunes. I ran around the sand. It was an awesome time.
Also just the spectacle of being out there, and like even when you're not filming, just looking around you and having like a 360 degree of just sand dunes, you forget you're in Colorado.
When it came to Emerson's character and the girls around the picnic table, that one had to be more planned out, which is why we saved that for the second day, because we knew that we needed a very specific area for that, and it would be more prepping with the props and all that. So we wanted to get a feel on the first day for how it was going.
So we are setting up our sequence for the Mirage with the whole table of grapes women setup. It's fucking sick right now. Really excited to get started on this. Should be some really fun stuff.
Day 2. Yeah, you guys can sort of like lean in and out.
It was sandy, it was windy, it was long, but we got it done.
The final day was just one that we knew that we had to nail because we were so happy with what all we had gotten leading up to it, and we knew that we couldn't mess it up, which is why it was stressful, because not that it was the hardest day, but there was just no margin for error.
So this is another option to keep them more shallow.
It was weirdly poetic to have the first day and the last day be back at that same location, but in wildly different times of year.
Last day of shooting.
What's the plan for today?
So we're filming the first scene and the last scene of the day. They both take place at the campsite that we filmed at earlier this year in February when it was snowing. Now it's all green and pretty. Pretty excited. Should be pretty straightforward, but still gotta bring it all home because this is how we start and end the film, so it's gotta look good.
The last day was back on the same location that we started our first day on, only this time it was a little bit warmer and everybody was in a little bit better spirits.
You ready?
Crazy shit this time, Cam. Don't break. I'm gonna do some crazy shit behind your back.
Are you ready? Speeding. Set. And action. How's the shoot day going?
It's good. It's hot. We're about to eat lunch. Super happy about that. Have my swimsuit on because it's hot. And there's a creek right there.
Oh my god!
So yeah, it's going well.
It just keeps getting better.
What is there to say?
All right, So just finished up lunch, hiding from the rain a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't last too long. So we're just getting cozy up in the tent here.
It's not too bad.
Let's just stay tonight.
The last day is very important because not only did we shoot it on the last day, but it actually bookends our entire story. It's the first thing we see and the last thing we see. And as such, it was very important that we nailed down that day.
There comes a time like towards the last scene, the last day of filming, where we were really trying to nail down this one particular shot.
And action.
And it was taking a while, and it was taking a while. And I remember no matter how many times we had to like try it again and try it again, I was still just like in love with the process of doing it. And I think even after we got the shot, part of me was like, oh, let's just keep going. Like, I like being behind the camera, I like filming.
Rise and shine.
Hey, you. How was it?
We ended up getting it all, and I ended up being super happy with what we shot that day.
Hey everyone, it's a wrap on TRiP.
Nice.
TRiP is officially done after 4-5 months. That's absolutely crazy. It's been a lot. It feels good to finally be done with it. I'm excited to see it all come together.
It's been a real trip.
My first reaction when they approached me about TRiP, I was pretty excited because I knew it would lead to some really fun visuals and possibly VFX work.
I have always wanted to do more visual effects stuff in our films. I believe there's about 14 different visual effects shots, varying degrees of intensity. Some of them are as simple as just split frame down the middle, 2 versions of me, and other times it's full CG character replacements.
Which gives us a lot of control over where the particles actually start to move and where they don't. So we can start on a certain portion of my hand, we can start on my head, we can go up, down, side to side.
Disintegrate. This feels like a project more than any other that we built from the ground up with our hands.
It's just fun to go back to a more run and gun guerrilla style. That was our MO for so many years. That was what we thrived on. And it's been so much fun to do bigger professional stuff, don't get me wrong, but there's something that's just really special about being able to take a camera and a handful of people and just kind of figure things out as we go and find the magic in the moment.
We allowed ourselves to explore everything we wanted to visually, and I think it's only given us more inspiration for other projects we want to do in the future.
I was really proud to see this film come together because we did spend a lot of time going to faraway locations, waiting for the right weather patterns to show up. And with a project like this, the production time in between makes this project feel really, really big and really, really special.
Is it too hot?
When it comes to wrapping a movie, it is a lot like building up a sandcastle and watching it crumble around you. When Ethan's character Andy steps out of the tent and grabs that handful of sand and it passes between his fingers, I think that really is a motif for how we live our lives on a day-to-day basis. But that doesn't mean that those moments that we live are not important.